Alright, everyone, we're going to get started here.
Programming team who isn't playing this, pay attention.
Alright, so if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Sean Wu. I was the former CTO. Oh my god. Former CTO last year of this team, and this year I've been working on the scouting app that I guess scouting has decided to use because it's pretty awesome. And so today's presentation, we're going to be taking a look at how to collect the data that first of all, for people who don't know what scouting is we're trying to collect information on other teams. So we basically go and look at the robot performance of other teams and try to, when we get to eliminations, if we become a team captain, we get to choose who's on our teams. So we want to make sure we know who our opponents are and who our other alliance robots are, and form a strategy so that Drive Team can form a strategy around it, and we know who we're facing against, right? So I call it FRC MScout. I need a better name for it, and I'll get a better name next year. But there are three components to it. We're going to be talking about the client component, which is what a lot of the scouters will be using. Okay, guys, please pay attention. All right, so we're going to be. Thank you. All right, so the part that we're going to be looking at today is just the client part, which is how do I collect data on my opponents. We're not going to worry about how to use that data or how to transfer that data to other systems. That's for later talks. But this talk is specifically how are we going to get the data. All right. So the app I built is a web-based app, right? And the requirements for running the app is really simple. You need to run a modern web browser, so Safari, Google, Chrome, or Firefox should work, right? Internet connection is needed for you to install it the first time, right? After that, you don't need to have internet connection. So when you get to the competition, a lot of times you won't have access to Wi-Fi, and you might not want to turn on your data because if you don't have unlimited, that's a waste of money. You don't need internet connection after you're done installing this, all right? And the main way we're going to be using this is with our phones. So everyone has one of these, right? Everyone has a smartphone that can run Chrome, hopefully, right? So everyone pull out their phones, all right? We're going to get ready to install this, right? So here's how you actually install the app. You just go to this website. If you go to this website, what happens is the website itself will go and download itself onto your phone. So the next time you try to go to this same URL again, right, it'll actually use the cached version on your phone, and thus it works offline. So everyone go to this website and bookmark it, all right? So whenever you need to use the client scouting app, what you can do is just go to this URL, and it's just there, regardless if you're online or offline, all right? So I'm going to allow you guys to take a minute. So, yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. What? What? Yeah, go ahead. Scouting 2019. Yeah. It's already up on there, but do it on there anyways. So just a sneak peek, what it'll look like, it'll look like something like this. So if you get a screen like this, all right, something similar to this, then you've got it installed. So I'm going to wait for. That's on Slack, yeah. It's somewhere on the. I'll just post the link to the.
Can you post on announcements?
I'll post.
Actually,
I don't know if I can post it on
if you
announcements.
give me a link, I can post it.
Here, here's the, did you put in general? Okay, you put in
I'll
general.
put in announcements actually.
Okay.
Not right now. Put in a little bit. Okay.
All right. Put in general. All right. So the link is going to get onto general. All right. Okay. It's on general already. So I'm going to go past this.
Oh, thank you.
So as I talked about earlier, right? What you can try this right now. You can turn off your Wi-Fi. You can turn off your data. You can turn on airplane mode and refresh your web page, and you'll notice it's still there, or it should be still there. If not, then you're probably not running a modern web browser or too modern of a web browser. But what that does is it makes it work offline. So when you get to competition and you're offline and you need to scout, right? When you're called up to scout, it still works offline, right? That's the main point of this, is that it works offline, right? If there's a new update, if you refresh it while you're connected to the internet, it'll just automatically get the newest update of the app. So this is how it's going to work. Yes.
They would have the tape.
Right.
When we close it and then we go to that URL, will it still?
It will still be there. Yes. You can try it right now. It should. Should. I never know what's going to pop up with different phones and everything. Okay. Cool. All right. You'll notice that if you try to reload it, it'll also have a tiny little pop-up that says, "Do you want to refresh the page?" That's to try to protect you from accidentally closing out of the web page when you if you do something like, you know, you're in the middle of scouting a competition, right, and you accidentally try to close it out. That helps protect you from losing that data. So that's one of the features on here, right? So if there's anything goes wrong, just clear your cookie or start it in incognito mode, or like if you get a blank page, right, try refreshing a bunch of times, or clear your web browser cookie data, and you can look that up online to how to do that for your specific browser, right? And so the point of this app is what you're going to do, right? This is match scouting. What that means is you're going to take a look at one robot when the match starts. When the match starts, right, you're going to take a look. So you're going to be assigned one robot, right? Like it could be our own robot, for example, right? You're going to take a look at what happens to that robot during the match, right? And so this is what this app does. And this app operates on the principle of you press a button when a robot does something. So let's say, for example, the robot goes and picks up a cargo piece, right, the ball. You can just press pick up cargo, right? And then let's say a moment later, it scores itself onto it scores that cargo piece onto like the cargo ship. Then you press scored on cargo. So it's this, you don't have to think about what's happening. You just have to press the buttons on each robot action, yes. There is a undo button, so we'll go into how this whole app works later, all right? So this is better than our previous paper systems, because we used to have scouters mark off, make a tally of whenever someone scores something, right? And not only does it save trees, it also saves a little bit of brain processing of the scouter, because all you have to worry about is robot actions, all right? And it collects a lot more data than paper, right? There's also a robust data transfer mechanism. So once you get this on your phone, right, there'll be someone who's collecting all the data, someone with a laptop that's collecting all the data, and there's a really easy way to transfer that data from your phone onto their computer, all right? So this is the first screen that comes up when you open up the scouting app, right? And so the very first portion is team number, your team number, right? Which is the team number of yourself, the scouter. So in this case, you would always put in 612, right? That's just to track who scouted what, from which team the data came from, right? Another part is the language selection. Someone was kind enough to give me a Spanish translation of everything, so if you want a Spanish translation, there's a language selection. It's not completely thorough, but there's a partial Spanish translation at least. So the robot team number is the robot you're looking at. So let's say I'm a scouter during like a first qualification match in the competition, and I'm scouting a team like Supernova, which is 4472, right? That's their team number, and I would put in 612 here, then 4472 here, because that's the robot I'm looking at, right? So that's a field for the target robot you're looking at. Don't confuse the two. The next field is the match type. So this drop-down menu gives you an option of what type of matches there are. There's test matches, there's like practice field, there's a practice match. But the most important ones is during actual competition, you need to indicate whether it's a qualification match, a quarterfinals match, a semifinals match, or finals match, right? So those are the different match types. So we can later use that data to try to connect it to like the internet and do magic stuff with it. Next part is the match number. So every match, there's a match number associated. So for example, qualification number 76, right? It's a 76th qualification match in the competition, right? So that's just the match number you would put in there. Next part is use the start button to start match scouting. So the start button is what gets you to the page to actually start recording all the data that you want. All right. The back button right here allows you to access the match you just last scanned. We'll take a look at what the data transfer mechanism looks like and why the back button is there. So when you click on the start button, you'll get to a page that looks like this, and it might look a little bit confusing at first, but hopefully it's intuitive enough that people can use it accurately. So what happens is this very top part, this indicates how much time there is in the match left, right? So when you start scouting, this will start ticking down, and since there's only a minute, 2 minutes and a half of a match, right, this will count down from 150 seconds, which is the nomenclature. Then there's these cargo or hatch indicators, which is what the app thinks that the robot is currently holding. So if both of them are 0, then that means that they're not holding either one. If one of them is 1, then that means they're holding either a cargo or a match. You can't actually make it both be 1 at the same time. Then there's the hab line buttons. So the hab line buttons are to indicate whenever a robot actually crosses the hab line, and I'll talk more about what that actually means. But there's level 1 and level 2, and I'll tell you how to actually use this, right? Yes. Good point. I might actually do that, but reason why this is the case is because it was built off of a modular system. So this was done actually. This part of the whole system was done at kickoff because all I had to do was change a config file. I might actually go back and change this more specifically, but yeah.
Let's say, for example, you picked up cargo.
Right.
Have it so that everything else is not relevant to it, like store of rocket ship, the store of rocket,
all that.
Just get grayed out.
You can't actually if you try to click on them, they shouldn't do anything, but they're not grayed out. So that might be something I might add to it, but it depends on how much time I actually have to work on this. But yeah. The other parts, this square is the hatch pickup mechanism, hatch and cargo pickup. So you can indicate when they picked up cargo and hatch. Right. So there's hatch pickup and hatch drop, cargo pickup, cargo drop. Then there's the scoring mechanism. So if they scored either a hatch or cargo on like the cargo ship, you click on cargo ship. or if they fail to do so, you click on the fail button right next to it, right? And then the very bottom, there's a HAB climb mechanism, which is how you indicate how they try to climb to the HAB platforms, right? There's also defense. So there's two things we track in defense. There's crossing the field, which means if you cross over to your opponent's side, and then there's play defense, which I'll talk about what that means later. There's also an undo button, so if you make any mistakes, right, like let's say you accidentally indicated they failed on a cargo hatch, but they actually somehow managed to put it in correctly, and they actually scored it, then you would undo it and press on scored on cargo ship, right? And then the last component is the event log, which you can take a look at and see all the events happen in the time you actually press them, right? So before the match starts, you want to make sure you use the pick up cargo or pick up hatch buttons to reflect what the robot has on the robot you're scouting actually has. So let's say the robot you're trying to scout has a preloaded hatch before the start of the match. You click on pick up hatch. It should turn to 1, and that would make it so that you're scouting. You're indicating that they already have a hatch picked up, right? Yes.
I don't know if you want to code it already, but once you record all that data, is there a way of visualizing it once you record it?
That's the analytics app. The analytics app, not on the phone side. The phone side can't do that. What you could do is you could look at the event log and see what's happening right there. That's the analytics app, and there's a kick-ass app. If people are interested in how we use this data later, there's going to be a presentation a little bit later on how we're going to use it. But yeah, this is currently just collecting the data, right? The other thing to keep in mind is to remember whether the robot is on the HAB platform or the HAB level 2 platform, because they either start on the level 1 or level 2 platform. And so when the match starts, you're going to be ready to click either one for when they cross the HAB line, if they cross it at all, right? So when the match starts, what you're going to do is you're going to click on this top bar, and the time is going to start counting down. That actually starts the recording. You can actually try this now. If you input some random numbers for your team number, match the target team number, and the match number, right? You can get to this screen to test it out, and you can tap on the top, and you'll see the time actually start counting down, right? If you tap it again, the time will reset back to 150. So if you accidentally tap it the first time, a little bit before the actual match start, like if you misclick before the match, you can still tap it again to reset it. But after 10 seconds, it'll prevent you from doing that, to prevent you from accidentally exiting out. And there's another way to exit out of the current recording after those 10 seconds, and I'll talk about that later. Yes? What?
Before you even hit this, you can still click on these.
That's for indicating what scoring piece they have. So if they start out with a cargo, they have a cargo piece on. If
you can't undo it, you have to. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's really a bug though.
Oh,
Like the undo button is only working during the collection. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, as before, you're also going to get ready when the match starts to click on these two buttons to indicate when they actually cross the line, right? So, the HAB line is defined, also known as the Sandstorm Bonus. Sandstorm Bonus 1 and Sandstorm Bonus 2 is when the robot bumpers fully cross the line on the field, the HAB line on the field. When the robot bumpers fully cross that place, then you get points for it. So if it's only partially crossed, you don't actually press that that cross habline button, when it fully crosses over, as in the last bumper piece, right? If it's still intersecting the bumper line, if it crosses fully over, then it's considered scored, right? Don't worry about when this happens, because when you click on match, the very top to have the time start counting down, right? It'll record the time at which this took place, so it'll know whether it happened in Sandstorm or not. And if it didn't happen during Sandstorm, then it knows not to give the robot these bonus points, right? You just get ready to click on those buttons when they fully cross over the line, right? So, picking up pieces, if the robot doesn't already have a piece, if it's empty and it wants to pick up a piece to grab another thing, right? If they pick up a cargo, you click on pick up cargo. If they don't, they want to pick up a hatch, they pick up a hatch, then you click on pick up a hatch, right? Drop cargo, drop hatch. Those are kind of self-explanatory. But those buttons are for when they manipulate scoring pieces, yes.
They like drop something where they weren't supposed to, or they unintentionally like drop it onto the field and not onto like the rocket or wherever.
So yeah, when they drop it on the field, you use these. So if for example I went over, I picked up a hatch, right, and then 2 seconds later I'm trying to travel to another place, and I get jostled and I drop it, right? That would be a drop hatch event right there, right? If they're trying to score it, right? If they're like, I'm close to the cargo ship and I'm really trying to do the hatch but it drops, then that's a failed cargo ship event. And I'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of what's the difference between dropped and failed later on.
What if it's successful?
If it successfully do it, then you do score on cargo ship, right?
When you touch the timer, does it only allow you to reset it like at the beginning?
It only allows you to reset the timer for the first 10 seconds. After that, you have to swipe. You either have to reload or there's another menu you can access, and I'll talk about that later on to let you stop
by the
it.
way, I noticed a bug.
Yes.
What might be a bug? So when I hit drop hatch,
Right.
and then I hit undo, the hatch doesn't go back up to 1. It just.
That's because, did you have the time going?
Yes, it was going.
So, show me what's happening. So if you have, show me what's happening.
Yeah, I know. If it worked, it worked, but it didn't work for me.
So,
It was started. It was like 90 seconds or something.
so if you pick up a cargo, right, drop cargo, you should have the indicator still there.
Yeah, but I did it for hatch, and it didn't go back up to 1 for some reason.
Hold on.
Maybe it was just my phone being weird. I don't know. Weird.
Maybe. It could be you started with it. Hatch. Yeah, that might be the case.
Oh, yeah, weird.
Okay. The next section is the scoring piece. So the scored buttons are for indicating when they scored on this location successfully. So for example, if they pick up a hatch and they score on the cargo ship, when they score on the cargo ship, you would click on score on cargo ship, right? So this is for indicating it's successful. The failed button next to this location, is for indicating if they failed at that location. So if they picked up a cargo and they tried to put on the cargo ship, but it bounced out, right? Then you click on failed, right?
So if you click on fail, it says back to beginning, or?
Yeah, they won't have a cargo or a hatch piece, because I'm assuming they dropped it. But if they grabbed it again, then you would pick up cargo, and then if they attempt it again, then you do that. But so that's how you would figure out that particular conundrum. And you use these buttons regardless of if it's a hatch or a cargo, right? The app doesn't know what it actually scored, but the analytics app, the app where we actually figure out what this data means, does go back and check what did they last pick up and figure out So they scored something on the cargo ship, right? And then the last time they picked something up was a cargo, so I know they scored a cargo on the cargo ship. So do this for it doesn't matter whether they have a cargo or a hatch. They just have to have either one on the indicator to actually score it. So the last part is the hab climb parts. So at the end of the game, if they start to try to climb up to the hab, right, you're going to use these buttons to indicate what they're doing. All right. So how this is going to work is, for example, let's say I'm a robot, and let's say this line is where hab level 1 is, and hab level 2 is over there, right? What's going to happen is currently no one's clicked anything. Once I enter on to hab level 1, right, you're going to click on hab level 1. If I then climb up to hab level 2, then you're going to click on hab level 2. You click the button whenever the robot changes location. Failed is if they exit out of the hab completely. Let's say, right, I have to go help out a teammate because they tipped over and I want to try to help out. I'm on hab level 2 and I exit out to hab level 1, you would click on hab level 1, and you exit out of hab level 1, then you click on failed, right? So these buttons you click on them whenever a robot updates its position on the hab platforms, right? And what this allows us to do is track how long it took for them to climb, because the climb attempt really starts when they enter onto hab level 1, right? And then, so that starts, you can use that time to when they got onto hab level 2 to track how long they took to actually climb it. So that's how we're going to be tracking climbing. So the defense buttons are a little bit more interesting in regards to what I define defense is. All right, so the cross field option is for when they cross the opponent field, right? You only do that once. You don't do it for when they come back from the opponent field back, because we can get that information as, we can define a steal cargo as if they stole a cargo piece, if they cross field, right, picked up a cargo piece, and then scored on cargo ship, the only place they can score is on their own side, so we know they went back. So they probably stole a cargo piece from the opponent, right? So the cross field option is only for when they cross over to the opponent field, not when they come back, right? Play defense is pretty much whenever they do some significant defense, and how this is for tapping only when they cross it. This is for tapping. You tap this every few seconds. They're still playing defense. So if you still tap within a 10-second period, they're still going to be considered playing defense, right? Until they do something else like pick up cargo or whatever. And defense for me is defined as if you're blocking an opponent from scoring on their opposite side, then that's considered defense. If you're blocking an opponent from stealing your own scoring pieces on your side, that's considered defense, right? Defense would be more of the proactive nature of a robot trying to prevent the other team from interfering in any significant way, all right? If you're on the receiving end of a pin, as in you're minding your own business and a robot slams into you and pins you to the wall, that's not defense. Defense is proactive in nature, which is a little bit weird, but that's how we're going to define it as. The undo button undoes mistakes, and that only happens when the timer is going. So if the timer's not going, it's not going to really do anything. And the other thing to keep in mind is you shouldn't rely on it that much, because time will not stop for you. So let's say you accidentally clicked on score cargo ship when they actually failed on it. You would have to quickly hit undo and then hit fail, right? Because time is going to be still ticking, because if you're going to have to be dealing with time reverting back, then now you have like an offset to what's currently happening, and we don't want to deal with that. Undo, so try not to put yourself in a position where you use the undo button a lot. It's there for you to be accurate in your scouting, right? But not only do you want to be accurate in what actually happens, you also want to be accurate in terms of time, because we are looking at the timestamps of what's happening, right? So here's the difference between dropping and failed at scoring. So there's dropping is when you're in the middle of nowhere and you just randomly drop it because you got jostled or your mechanism broke or something, right? If you're not in the attempt of scoring something and you drop and you lose control, right? That's considered dropped, right? If you lose control, or if you lose control of a piece while in the attempt of scoring and you don't get a score, then if you don't actually succeed at scoring, then that's considered failed at scoring, right? And so how we're going to try to look at when they actually scored is they're successful at scoring when it's pretty clear that the target scoring piece has stopped moving. So let's say I'm putting a cargo into the piece. I don't actually hit successful scoring until that cargo piece has stopped moving. If it's still bouncing around inside somewhere, don't hit successful yet, because there's a chance it might bounce out. If it bounces out, then that's failed scoring, right? And if the scored piece is later unstuck, then the original scoring attempt is still valid. For example, if I put on a hatch panel and a few minutes later I slam into the rocket where the hatch panel was placed, and it was placed weakly, and that hatch panel falls over, my original attempt of placing the hatch panel was still successful. So we're gonna still consider that successful, and there's currently no way to record that on the scouting app buttons itself, so don't worry about if a piece later falls off. If a piece later falls off, don't worry about it, right? So one of the features on here is while you're recording, while the time is still ticking down, you can swipe from the very right to the very left. If you swipe fast enough, this menu will open up, and what this menu does is it allows you to stop recording, finish recording, or continue recording, right? If you're still in the middle of recording and you accidentally get this menu, you just hit continue recording, right? And let's say the robot got disabled, got e-stopped, and they're not going to be able to do anything anymore, right? And you know that because they're e-stopped. Once they're e-stopped, they can't be turned back on. You can click on finish recording, right, and then it'll prompt you for the comment section to allow you to finish up your current recording, right? The stop recording is for when, like, if you go past the initial 10 seconds, that allows you to cancel your current recording. This allows you to cancel your recording. So it won't record. Make sure you know the difference between the two. This will cancel all data you've collected. The data you've collected so far will be erased. Right? Finished recording will finalize your data, and you can access that data later on. Right? So make sure you know the difference between the two. So the last piece is the comment section. So when the timer hits negative 10 seconds, so 10 seconds after the match ended, supposedly, this will pop up, or if you hit finish recording, this will pop up, right? And what this allows you to do is make your own observations as to what happened with the robot you were scouting, right? So some general rules: don't exceed 750 characters. I don't think anyone's going to have enough time to get to 750 characters on a phone, but please don't exceed 750 characters. And once you're done, you press continue to start the transfer data process. So here's what to put on your comments, right? So one of the things you want to report is if they try to climb onto like hab level 2 or hab level 3, right? You also want to know of if mechanisms break, like if their climb mechanism breaks, if their whole hatch mechanism breaks, right, or their cargo mechanism breaks. You want to record that, right? And you also want to know if the scoring attempts, if a lot of them were just relying on pure luck, like if they shot the ball and it's pretty clear they weren't really aiming it and it just somehow got into the cargo ship, like just by pure luck, then note this type of occurrence, right? Whether their scoring attempts were really skill-based or luck-based, right? Know if they have vision systems or like auto-align mechanisms, or you feel like they do, right? You can make those types of observations, right? And note how the driving, if they're driving or they're using, it seems like they're using autonomous in Sandstorm, and note what Sandstorm is like. And any other observations on the performance of the robot, right? Not the robot design itself, because that's a separate area called pit scouting, which we're looking at the actual design of the robots. But this is how effective is the robot at doing stuff, right? If the mechanism breaks, they can't do like if the cargo mechanism breaks, they can't do cargo anymore for the rest of the match. That's one of the things you need to put on there, right? What you don't want to do is do stuff that the scouting app already records. You don't want to be like, oh, they scored 6 cargo, right? From the scouting app, we already know that. So there's no need to make any extra effort to record anything that the scouting app already knows, right? Don't insult anyone, or conversely, there's no use. There's not really any use for praising teams unless it's constructive in their performance, right? This is all about the team performance during the match, right? And anything that's meaningless to the actual team's performance in this match, right? You don't have to say about the team history in previous matches, right? You're looking at this current match at this current time. What does this team bring to the table, right? And so that's what the commenting system is for. I don't know if Cat wants a particular format or anything, but if anything notable happens during the match, also to the robot concerning that's involved with the robot you're scouting, then note that in here. Like if the robot you're scouting tips, right, note that in there. If the robot you're scouting, their alliance robot tips, you don't have to talk about that unless they helped out another robot tipping them back over. If they helped out their teammates in tipping their robot back over, that's happened in the past. You can put that in there, right? Because that's significant to their performance in the match. They weren't using that time to score cargo or anything, right? So the performance in that case decreased, but it also shows that they're a good team player, right? So that's the type of comments you should really make in this system, right? And the fancy part, right, is how we're going to be transferring data, right? So once you have this on your phone, someone is going to be collecting this data from you at some point, right? And after you make the comments, you're going to get to this screen, and this screen is going to have a QR code that starts flashing. It's going to be changing, the QR code is going to be changing, right? And this is, I have a program that allows the person with the laptop, the scouting master, to really scan this flashing QR code stream protocol data stream thing. The slider at the bottom allows you to change the rate at which it changes. So if you're having a tough time, if you want it to go fast, you bring it back over here to make it go really fast. If you have a really tough time getting it to scan, then you slide it over so it's a little bit slower, so the program can actually go through and scan it, right? And so this is the program that's being used to scan the thing, right? That's the first method of how we're transferring data, right? The second method is we can use a single QR code. So if you hit the single QR code, it'll toggle you between that flashing QR code series called QR code stream. Yes? What do you mean? Oh yeah, okay. Well, I might do that at some point. But this allows you to toggle between a single static QR code, right? So if the data is really small, if the robot didn't really do a lot of things, you can try a single QR code, and it'll give you a static QR code, and nothing will change. And you can use the same program, and it'll have an option for you to scan a single QR code. You can try to scan that in. But if the data is really long, if you put a lot of comments, you're probably gonna. This thing is already going to be probably pretty massive. From here, it's already kind of big. So you might not want to use this if the comments are really long or there's a lot of stuff that happens. Yes.
What's the QR code for?
The QR code is for when, so for example, everyone here, let's say like 6 of you goes and scouts a single match, right? Now the data is on 6 different phones. I need to collect it somewhere. So the QR code is for, there's a program that I have that allows you to scan it into a laptop, and so now the laptop has, everyone passes their phones over and scans it. The reason why I'm using this QR code system is because there's not going to be, Bluetooth is bad, right? Bluetooth doesn't work very well. There are plenty of scanning apps out there that use Bluetooth. None of them work very well. The other part is there's not going to be real internet connectivity at events because the Wi-Fi is going to be mostly disabled because they need that for the actual the match system, right? And you know, mobile hotspots are technically illegal, so yeah, that's the reason why I have that. The third option is for if you don't actually manage to get your data scouted and you need to scout the next match. Since if you scout the next match, it will overwrite the current data. You'll notice that there's a little pop-up that says match data copy to clipboard, right? So now on your phone, if you go into like your notes program, right, there should be some sort of notes program on your phone. You can just make a new note and copy that data by pasting it directly into your notes program and saving it. So later on, you can just send that piece of data over Slack, and someone can go and collect it because there's also a way on this program to put in the raw string data from there. So if all else fails and you're queued up to scout the next match, right? You can copy this and paste. This will automatically copy it to your clipboard and you paste it into your notes app, whatever app you use to. This automatically copies it to the clipboard. So if you overwrite your clipboard, you can click on back, right, to get back to the title screen, and you click on back again, right. So if you click the back button twice, it'll get you back to there and it'll copy it to your clipboard.
How does it do that?
Web magic. Power of web browsers, yes.
Something about the visualization tool. Is there a way, can you like stack on and compare different files? Compare different files and data?
Yes, and we will have a session later on the visualization. This is just the scanning part, right? Anyone got any questions? Okay. I am going to do a quick demo of what it looks like. So this is what the scanning app looks like. So this is a program that's running on my phone, and let's say I have a piece of data. You have this data streaming type of deal on your phone right now, right? And you want to transfer. I want to transfer this from my phone to my laptop, and I don't have any internet. So what I can do is I can click on start QR code stream, right? You notice in the back it's doing some magic stuff, and now that data is written to this text file right here. So now my data from my phone has now transferred over to the laptop, and that's how we're going to be scanning things in, right?
Why do you need to switch the QR code?
So it's for when there's a lot of data, right? You can't express it, if you can't really express it in a single QR code, then there's a QR code streaming program. Yes. Yes, so this is what the single QR code for my data looks like right now, because this is just test data. I don't have a lot of data on it, so it's easily scannable, so I can scan a single QR code. And once it recognizes it, tries to create the file. And since it's the same data, it's already there, right? And the person who's using this program can, if you for example, it copies onto your clipboard, right? This little pop-up says it copies onto your clipboard. If you send it to yourself on Slack, or you send it to the person who's using this on Slack, and they take it off of Slack and put it in here. They can click on raw entry, and that does the exact same thing as this. So that's 3 different ways we can transfer the data from your phone to the person's computer that's trying to collect all this, right? And an example of how we're going to be using, so this is what the app looks like currently. And let's say we're going to be scouting, I'm going to be scouting, let's say for example, we're going to be scouting team 5687 on this is a week 0 event. So this is using the official FMS system, but this isn't a real competition, right? So let's say I'm a scouter that's scouting this team 5687, right? So what I do, this is my team number 5687, and this is a finals match, and this is match number 2, right? So on the blue lines, it's finals 2 of this event. So this is what it looks like right here. So when you hear that sound, that's what you do. They got off of pad level 1, right? It's that robot over there, right? And if I wasn't so rushed, I would have already clicked on picked up hatch, and they scored it on cargo ship. And you can kind of see in this interaction that stuff happens at the bottom, and while you're trying to scout them, I can't actually see what's going on, so it's kind of bad. But what? Yeah. Let's say I want to stop the recording, I click on stop recording, and the recording stops. And if I want to get back to the initial menu, I just refresh the page on here, right? So I'll play the beginning again. If you can hear the sound, there's this like trumpet sound that marks the match start. That's when you actually click on the top to start the match scouting. All right. So this pretty much concludes this current presentation, right? If you want to join my Discord server where the application development is happening, you can join with this link if you really want to. It's written in Java, basically pure JavaScript, and it's just basically creating a website, so it's mostly JavaScript, right? So if you're interested in this and other programs I'm working on, including the scanning application that's going on right now, and the coolest part, which is the analytics application, you can join the Discord if you want to take a look at what's happening. The other part of it is, I think in about an hour or so, we're going to be talking about how we use this data. So the analytics side, it's called FRC MScout dash analytics, which is how we're using this data. And you can look at all the, so far what charts I have on there or not. If you're interested in that sort of thing, right, in about an hour or so, I'll make another quick talk on what's happening there. So, all right. Yes.
It doesn't seem to be copying to the port on this or my phone.
Here, let's see what's happening. All right.
Like it says copied,
Right.
and then when you try to paste it, it doesn't do anything.
Well, I don't know how to get out of here. So let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing else.
Maybe it's a Safari thing.
It could be.
Do you have Chrome installed?
I'll try.
You can try it on Chrome. It should work on Chrome. It could be a very specific Safari thing because The app is using a website, so the JavaScript that's running on the website might work differently on Safari than on Chrome and such. So I know this works really well on Chrome. I actually don't have an iPhone, so I can't actually test Safari. So yeah, fun. Any other questions?
To, like, note that when we're...
Yeah. Okay. I'll actually make a probably announcement on Discord.
Thanks for watching till the end of the video. If you like what you saw, share this video with other people in the FRC community. Check out the website and join the Discord server. Link in the descriptions below.